Hi, welcome back to Faith and Conviction. I'm your host, Ray Harris. I want to welcome you to this week's Torah portion. We're looking at Torah portion 21. It's out of the book of Exodus. In Hebrew, the name is Shemot, which means names in English, but we definitely refer to the book as Exodus. And it's the verses this week are chapter 30, verse 11 through chapter 34, verse 35. And the key word is Tissa, which means when you take. That's two different Hebrew words. We're only going to be looking at the second one, and that's Tissa, and we'll explain that here in just a moment. But the important thing about this is in previous Torah portions we've talked about how one Hebrew word can be translated by two Greek words, and we look at the differences in English. Well, this time similar things happen. This one Hebrew word is translated by different Greek words, and we are going to look at it in English. So it's a lot of information, but I think it's valuable information. I think you'll like what we see. So let's look at this word Tissa. It is Strong's number is H5375, and it's connected back to the word Nasa. Now, Brown Driver Briggs tells us that this means to lift, to bear up, to carry, to take. But the King James translates this word in a whole bunch of different ways, but its primary translation is bear, B-E-A-R, or bear, B-A-R-E, or lift, lifted, take, took. And that Hebrew word occurs about 650 different times in the Hebrew Bible. So this is very important, and it's translated a bunch of different ways, but I think it's valuable. So let's take a look at our first occurrence, which is in Exodus chapter 30, verse 12. The King James says, "When thou takest the sum of the children of Israel." So it's talking about a census, but it's talking about when Moses took the census. The Complete Jewish Bible says, "when you take." The Jewish Publication Society, this one here, says, "you take." And the Apostolic Bible Polyglot also uses the words, "should take." So all of these translations are very similar. Now, when you go over to the Greek Old Testament, it uses this word, labes. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But labes is connected to Greek word G2983. So let's look at this again, though, because this Hebrew word, Tissa, which connects over to our root, is used two other times in this Torah portion. So look down in Exodus 32, verse 32. The King James says, "Yet now, if you wilt forgive their sin." And this is Moses talking with God. And the word forgive is translating this word. And that word forgive is also seen in the Complete Jewish Bible, also over in the Jewish Publication Society of the Torah. And we also have Apostolic Bible Polyglot doing forgive. But the Greek word on that is aphes, which is G863. It's a little bit different of a Greek word, but we're going to take a look at these things over in the New Testament. I think you'll like what you see. Now, there's one other use of this key word in our Torah portion, and it's Exodus 34, verse 7. And it says here, "keeping mercy for thousands, forgiving iniquity and transgression and sin." That's the King James of it. Now, the Complete Jewish Bible and the Jewish Publication Society use the word forgiving. And the Apostolic Bible Polyglot uses the word removing. So all of these guys are in agreement with the concept. But the Septuagint uses the word aphairon, and that is Greek number 851. So this one Hebrew word is translated with what we would count as three different Greek words, and then we saw them in English, and we can see how these things are working. But let's take a look at three verses in the New Testament which have these Greek words, and let's see how they're using them. So the first one we want to look at is what our first verse was. Exodus 30, verse 12, because it goes to lambano. Now that's a very important word, and it's Greek 2983. And in the New Testament, it's about 260 times. So this is very important. So we're going to look at John 10 and verse 17. Jesus says, "I lay down my life that I might take it again." And behind "might take" is lambano. And in verse 18, "No man taketh it from me." Now that "taketh" is a different Greek word. "But I lay it down of myself." I have power to lay it down, and I have power to take it again. and behind that is lambano. So right there from Exodus 30 verse 12 all the way over to John 10 and verse 17, it's the same Greek word, and that means to take. Interesting. So let's look at Exodus 32:32, and it connects over to apheimi. Now what we have is the Greek number is G863, and in the New Testament it's used about 150 different times. So look at Matthew 6 and verse 12. Now that should be something that many of us know, and it's talking about the Lord's Prayer. So take a look at this. And forgive us our debts as we forgive others. And that's the same Greek word that was used to translate Exodus 32:32. Yet now if you wilt forgive their sins. Now that's pretty interesting that the same Greek word is setting in both of those passages about forgiveness of sin. Now look over here, and we're going to do the last verse from our Torah portion, and that's Exodus 34 verse 7 to see the Greek word there. Now it's apheireo. And I hope I said that right, but we're going to Greek number 851, and then this time it's in the New Testament only about 20 times. But this is still an important word. So let's look at Luke chapter 5 verse 35 to find this Greek word. And here's what it says. But the days will come when the bridegroom shall be taken away from them, and then shall they fast in those days. So it's interesting how this one Hebrew word got translated by different Greek words, and when you take those Greek words in the New Testament, how it expresses things into the English. So to be taken away, and in the Apostolic Bible Polyglot it has removed, which is exactly what he used in Exodus 34 verse 7 for removing, and basically removing iniquity and transgression and sin having been taken away. Now these are cool. This is cool concepts. The things that we can see that Moses does in Hebrew, the Greek Old Testament translators put into Greek, and then over in the Greek New Testament we have these same words, and then with the English we can see how all of these are working together. So we see the power of Moses, we see the power of Messiah, we see the removing of sin, we see the power of what sets from God through the teachings of Moses, the ultimate fulfillment through Christ and the removal of sin. These are cool things. These are awesome things. These are things which should build our faith and build our conviction. So until next time, continue to seek God, know Messiah, find hope.